Good Tuesday to you, everybody, in COM 110. Bam! Welcome to week 3. How's everybody doing? You hanging in there? I think this extra light is bothering me here. 1 second. Alexa, lights off. I hope that you're, okay to you too. I hope that your Labor Day weekend passed well. I had an enjoyable one. I got out of the office. I got to do some things with my wife. Her birthday is right around Labor Day. So, we always kind of piggyback that together. But to get things started today, let's get the last of the coffee. And it's very good. Okay, anyway, so now you're back refreshed and ready, right? All right, so week 3. We're not going to spend a lot of time right now on our, period on what you're doing this week. It's really straightforward. We are going to finish the readings from the Palmer book that you've been in, and section number 3, which you'll read this week, and it's all in the modules, will help you pull together these the sort of theoretical steps that Palmer goes through in planning a speech and delivering a speech. So it's okay. Then he asks, how do you put it all together? I can tell you from experience, the best way to figure out how to put your planning and your delivery in practice is to just speak. So if you're interested in a career or even a path that may involve public speaking, practice it. Practice it in front of a video, all right? You video yourself on your phone or a webcam and play it back. When I began teaching, I was a graduate student, and I had a number of excellent professors. And part of my package as a graduate student was I was given a teaching fellowship and a bunch of courses to teach. And I had taught a lot before. I taught in high schools and I taught when I was an undergraduate. But this was different. Okay, different level, different expectation, different type of material. And I had a professor that for all of us, he videotaped us. And then he was very kind about it. He said, here, now you take this tape, and you could go watch it when everybody else is asleep and no one has to see you. He said, I want you to watch for a couple of things. I want you to watch your delivery. I want you to watch for anything that might be distracting. If it distracts you, you can absolutely be assured that it distracts an audience. So if you're playing with your clothes, or maybe you're reaching in your pockets, you're jiggling your change, you're scratching your head. If you have a hat, you take it off like this. Okay. Anything that detracts from the delivery. And then he said, when you finish with it, come and sit down with me. He'd already watched it, and we'll talk about what you're doing. It was tough. It was tough being in front of a large lecture hall and then knowing you're being videotaped and then watching it afterwards. You're going, oh, Lordy. All right. But when you read section 3 this week, really the only way to put these things into practice is to put these things into practice. So read that section, and at the end of the week, again, same deal as last time. I'm going to give you a short quiz, 15 questions, 30 points. I'll post it up, start on Sunday, and it will run Monday. Same thing again. I'll let you access the book, but no, once you answer a question, you can't go back and change your answer. So I need you to spend time absorbing the material. And the questions get shuffled around randomly, so they're not going to appear to you in the same order that they might appear to somebody else watching the screen. Okay, so spend some time, learn the material. Okay, for today, Tuesday, September the 3rd, you have a few things due. All right, your first speech. I say a few things. You have one thing due. Some of you, you've emailed me and said, oh, I'm having a hard time. I'm going to be late. No. Per the syllabus, read the document. You need to speak to me. You need to request an extension on the assignment. You can't just, email me up and say, oh, I got something in my eye. Excuse me. Oh, I'm going to be late. I mean, if you're having an issue, okay, let's try to talk about it and see if we can't get you past it. But it doesn't. Yeah, you need to ask me, and I'm gonna work really hard with you to make sure that you hit it and hit it on time. All right. And then you have some discussion questions from the readings last week. And because I know that you were going to be working on your speeches, those are not due until, into tomorrow, September the 4th. Normally, I won't push, assignments into the middle of the next week, but with the holiday and you working on your speech, I figured I'd do that. Okay, let's get to the meat and potatoes of this video. I'm going to review for you the answers to the quiz. Most of you did pretty well, the quiz from the readings from week 1, okay, because your final exam will be composed of material that comes from the quizzes and the discussion section, so you want to make sure that you got it if you didn't get it. Okay, all right, so I'm taking these questions in. I've just picked someone here from the class. I'm not going to say who it is. And I'm reading the questions from their quiz. And remember, the way I've set it up is the questions get shuffled around depending on who's looking at it. So if this is not in the order that you saw it, okay, just, find the questions in the order that you saw it. And this is the order that I'm seeing it. You understand? Okay. So 15 questions. And by the way, I apologize. I think there was a typo in the initial announcement about it in the instructions. I said 30 questions. I meant 30 points, just please forgive. 15 questions. Question number 1, true or false? Eric Palmer suggests that speaking well is critical to convincing others that one's opinions have more power and validity. The answer is true. In fact, Palmer points out that people that speak well, regardless of whether their opinions are true, are more accurate and truer, that their speech carries more power. So look, coming out of Regent, Christian scholars you are, one and all, I suggest that our call is to combine the two. That is validity. So don't go selling snake oil, and power in speaking. So you can be convincing. Question number 2. According to Palmer, public speaking can be divided into which of the following 2 categories? And the answer is building a speech and performing a speech. And now remember, you can give speeches extemporaneously, just off the cuff, right? But good speeches are speeches that are built. Okay. Question number 3. According to Palmer, which of the following is not? And I was, grammatically, in terms of sentence syntax, that's not really correct to put in a word with all caps smack in the middle. But I do it so there's little chance that you'll misread the question. Okay. Which of the following is not one of the 5 components to consider when building a speech? The decor, understanding the room. I was trying to think of other things to put in there, and there's a number of those other questions that included like decorations and stuff, and that doesn't, no such consideration, is in Palmer. All right. Question number 4, true or false? According to Palmer, a good speaker will know something about the audience's education level in order to effectively speak to them. True. In fact, Palmer goes on at great length about this and giving you the instructions for your first speech. I tell you who the audience is by way of educational level. Now, I spend time working as a journalist, and it's common when I write for some publications that they will tell me the writing level that you produce the story at. And it doesn't matter what it is. I mean, it can be very complicated by way of topic, but it has to be, and they'll give me a comprehension reading level. There's several gauges, scales, and bits of software that test whether your writing is at 4th grade level, 5th grade level, 6th grade level, 7th grade level. And guess what? Even for there's one magazine called The Stream that I write for. And they do a lot of political stuff. They do a lot of analysis. They're Christian-based organizations. they prefer, now I've been writing for them for a while, so I get a little slack, but they prefer that the reading level score comes in around 7. That is 7th grade. Why? Because when it comes to reading and reading comprehension, which is different than the spoken word, most people's level of education in terms of what they understand from what they read is very low. So critical for you to know, education level, dispositions, likes, dislikes when you're speaking to an audience. Question 5, true or false, when preparing a speech, a speaker should spend more time on dressing the part than reaching the audience? That's false. All right. True or false, according to Palmer, since people speak differently depending on who they are talking to, there's parents versus friends and so on. So it's important to know who is in your audience before you prepare any speech. That is true. Now, you can break some of these rules if you know what you're doing. That is, you can start with a very sophisticated audience. This tends to work upper down to lower. It doesn't tend to work from lower to upper. And you can start with a very sophisticated audience and throw something in there that's and I'm going to say common, but I don't mean in the sense of oh, how gauche, like the left bank of the Seine River in Paris where all the Bohemians hang out. That's not what I mean, but very, very slangy. And there are people who do this, who have mastered the art of moving from, in terms of language and usage and delivery up and down the scale. The rapper Snoop Dogg is one. Very, very interesting character to me. And if you look at some of the places, you see him speaking and the roles that he slipped into. I mean, he figured prominently at the Olympics in Paris this last summer. That's a good example. So you can throw out phrases and words that would, you would think, oh, well, this is for a different audience if you know what you're doing. All right. Question number 7, which of the following is not among the basic questions a speaker should use to build appropriate content for a speech? What content should the room contain? There's, me getting on about decor again. True or false, according to Palmer? Hi, my name is a terrible way to start a speech because such an opening does not grab the audience attention. That is true. Some speaking coaches even go so far as to say the first thing out of your mouth should be something totally outrageous, like, I just came from barbecuing my cat or something. I don't know why. I didn't actually have a cat. I love a cat. There were no cats harmed in making this video, but something that is so out of the box to get people's attention. Question number 9, true or false, according to Palmer, introducing yourself at the beginning of speech is one of the most direct ways to grab an audience attention. I just wanted to make sure you were paying attention. That's the same question, but just flipped around. That's false. Which of the following is not one of the 4 criteria the speaker should use to select a visual aid? The visual aid should be colorful. Okay. When I was writing this question, I have to confess an error here to you. I actually started with a different question about speakers that Palmer had used as examples in discussing how it is you should construct a speech. And of course, there were no specific speakers that Palmer used. So as I rewrote the question, I thought, no, I want to do this a little bit differently. Snap, I forgot to remove all of the names of the speakers that Palmer never discussed. And so this, when I looked at the test later, I was like, oh, Cicero is in there. So if you put Cicero, I gave you the credit for that question. All right. So, if it was marked wrong, I gave it to you right. And visual aids. The visual aid should be colorful. It doesn't matter if it's black and white or if it's color. Okay. Question 11. Briefly explain what Palmer meant when he wrote visual aids need to be accessible in 2 senses, mentally and visually. Excuse me. There's something in my chest today. Okay. So what I'm looking for here is, what Palmer said. And let me just read this person's response. Palmer meant that visual aids should benefit the speech, not detract from it. In order for this to be properly accomplished, the viewer must be able to easily understand the visual aid. I mean, I don't know if this goes back a ways, but in the, I think 70s, 80s, very popular. Whoever came up with this made a lot of money. A T-shirt with a smiley face that just said "Have a nice day." Okay, or another T-shirt with a big arrow says "With stupid," pointing next to him. Okay, these are visual aids. We are what we are. The term that's used is we are semiotic creatures. That is, we're hardwired to look for symbols that then become the association for the idea. In fact, that's so fundamental to how we think. You can't think without symbols. And I don't mean symbolic as in it doesn't really mean that. I mean symbols, that things stand for things. And that's not a bad thing. Like green, when different colors, for instance, you're driving around town, you see red and you think, oh, I need to stop the car. You see green and you should think, oh, I need to make the car go. Or if you live in my town, you see green and you're like, oh, I need to keep staring at my phone or something like that. You get what I mean? Okay. And so a visual aid needs to connect to what it is you're trying to signify. All right. If you want to tell people, hey, this is a bad thing, stay away. Throw up a skull with crossbones. Okay. Think about symbolic, and I just mean quite literally the symbol representation when you're using a visual aid. That's the first thing you think of. Two ways in which the audience engage with a visual aid is through their thought process and their sight. And I'm going to actually add a third because Palmer left something out. And it's a subcategory to the first one. People connect with visual aids. The visual aids, I should say, that connect with them most powerfully. It's an emotional connection. And that doesn't have to be visual. If you want to make people in a room uncomfortable, turn on an audio of a baby crying and watch what happens. Okay. So it doesn't have to, when we say visual, it doesn't necessarily have to be the eyes. So you think a little bit outside of the box. The observer must be able to look at the visual tool and quickly interpret what the presenter intended to communicate. This is back to the use of symbols. Okay, this is done through clear, simple, concise words and images in addition to artistic color selection and layout. Okay, that's what I'm looking for. And if you got somewhere in the neighborhood, I gave you 2 points. If you didn't, I put a little comment in there saying, yeah, okay, but what did the author mean? So when I say, what does the author mean? That's what I'm asking you to explain. Question number 12. True or false, Palmer notes that a visual aid should be unveiled as soon as possible to allow audience to focus on it. That is false. Palmer clearly points out that, unveil the visual aid at the time that it's needed. I've worked as a professional coach for public speakers, and in all of these tips and cues, and here's how you structure a speech, there are a couple of underlying things I'm going to tell you to keep in mind. So whether, how it is you introduce the speech instead of just saying, hi, my name is, what kind of visual cues you use or visual aids, right? The tone, the tempo, the tenor, how fast you speak, how slowly you go, all of that. Keep these two things in mind. Number one, never overestimate an audience capacity to be able to follow along with you. I advise that you strenuously avoid any visual aid, any reference, any allusion that dramatically takes the listener's mind off of the subject matter that you're addressing. Now, you can, try to find things that are like to like and that continue in a continuity. So if you want to talk about, say the economic situation is terribly dire, think of a string of metaphors that go together. So if you say the ship is sinking, all right, then all subsequent visual aids and auditory aids should fit into that category of water and disaster out to sea. So drowning, adrift, running out of fresh water, this sort of thing. If you shift to and the levee has broken and the flood's coming, okay, now people are going, well, wait a minute, I thought we were on a ship. So don't underestimate their ability to lose you, or for you to lose them. And then don't overestimate their ability to get back on track when they've lost you. All right, so be careful about that. Okay. Question number 13. Palmer notes that the speaker's poor appearance can diminish the power of a good speech. This is true. That's back to the first question. Palmer notes, true or false? Palmer writes that an impromptu speech is the easiest of all types of speaking because it takes the least time to prepare. That's false. Impromptu speaking takes a lot of practice to do it well. All right. That's 14. And then question 15. Because extemporaneous speaking is difficult, Palmer recommends that all speeches use a written script. And that is true. And here is the real art of speaking, especially now in this political season in which everybody's running around selling something. And I'm not taking partisan sides here. So wherever you're at, that's fine. That's where you're at. Watch the candidates. Watch those who are out stumping for the candidates and see if you can tell. Because I'm going to tell you, first of all, these are all prepared speeches. See if you can tell who is delivering the speech in such a way that it doesn't look like it's read, because this rings the bell of inauthenticity, which is a killer. It's a death knell for a speech, especially when you're trying to tell someone, I care so much about you, and I'm going to do this for you, and I'm going to help you. Just give me your support. Watch to see if you'll develop an ear for it. Okay. So yes, written speeches, but practice delivering the speech. So even if you write it down, go over it a few times. So when you deliver it, you don't sound like, and then I believe the ship is sinking. We must bail water as fast as possible. Okay. And you've lost the audience. You've diminished the power of your presentation, and you sucked the efficacy out of your speech. Okay. That's a review of the quiz. If you didn't get those answers right, go back into Palmer, take a look. No, I'm not going to tell you where they're found. That's your job. All right. I love you. But, somebody asked me, oh, will you tell us where in the text the answers are found? No. Read it. All right. Okay, everybody. Good luck uploading your speeches today. Okay. I look forward to reading your scripts, watching your speech, and getting through those this week. And then likewise, remember Wednesday, you've got a couple of discussion questions that went with the readings. I just pushed them a little bit to let you work on your speech. And at the end of this week, there will be a quiz over what we're reading. Okay. All right. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a fantastic Tuesday. And as always, I will see you on Canvas. Bye-bye.